Everybody should know me by now. I'm Eric. I'm with Surgical West, but we're the Zeiss distributor. So this is our Lumera 700 microscope. You guys use this for retina cases only, but you could actually use this for cataracts as well. So it can be used for either surgery. You brought out the resight right now, so I'll just go over real quickly the components here. So in your tray you have the first of all, you have the resight sitting here, so it's out of the way. So if you're doing a cataract surgery, it's out of the way. When they're using the resight, they're going to slide it forward, and like I mentioned, that's going to invert the image. So when they get to the retina, they can do the vitrectomy and anything else. Your tray consists of the sterilizable cover for the resight, and then two lenses here. You have the yellow lens, which is a 128 diopter wide field lens. So when they're doing the vitrectomy, this is the one that they're going to use. And then you have a green lens, which is a 60 diopter macular lens. It's a non-contact contact lens is what they call it, but a lot of surgeons still just use a contact lens instead of the green lens, so it's just a preference, but they have this available. So these just slide in. There's like a little, I don't know what to call it, like ridge here, so that this just slides in to the turret here, and then this one slides on the other side. So it should slide in and like stick like that. This turret actually rotates, so if they wanted to switch to the green lens, they can rotate it like that, but the majority of the time they're going to use the yellow lens. So this is going to slide on. Make sure this is back. Just going to slide it on like this. So those that can't see it. This slides on like this, and then this will drop down. This portion, this elbow actually rotates as well. So you can either rotate this or, like I mentioned, rotate the turret here. So, and then to take it off, it's easiest if you slide this forward. There's a button on the side, and you just slide it off like that. It takes a couple tries to get used to, but it's pretty easy. So, there's also a couple of, I forgot to mention, a couple sterilizable knobs here that go on the resight here, so they can manually adjust the lens if they need to. Any questions on that? No? Okay. Do you want me to go over how to take this on and off?
No, I'm not taking it off.
Okay, all right.
It's a dedicated retina scope. We're not changing anything.
Okay, all right.
How long does it take to take on and off?
Like 30 seconds a minute. There's a screw here. Loosen the screw, unplug this, and then you press this button here, and it'll pop off. Yeah. I can show you. I can show you afterwards.
But no reason for us to be taking that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once it's back, it's out of the way. You can. It's not blocking the sight of the lens here. But yeah, just make sure that it's plugged in the back, like I mentioned. The inverters are plugged in. The inverter tubes do have a manual adjustment on the sides here, so you can manually turn it in case something's gone wrong or not working. Make sure you have laser filters underneath, because if they're lasering, you don't want to get blinded if you're looking through the binocular.
Which ones are the laser filters?
The black, there's a black like space right here. These are actually, sometimes they're green, but these are black. You get them from like Alcon, or Zeiss doesn't provide them. You have to get them from Alcon or the laser, whatever laser company that you're using.
And then you said those knobs on the side, something about
To manually invert.
Oh,
These are electronic, so they should automatically invert when you slide the resight forward. But if for some reason it's not working, sometimes the resight, like when they're sliding it, if they're sliding it back and forth too quickly, it doesn't get a chance to invert, and then they're like, why is my image not inverting or something, you know? Then I would suggest maybe pull it forward again, slowly push it back. If that's still not working, then I would manually invert here, which while I'm doing this, it's actually not inverting, so
But there's no sterile knobs for that, right?
For what? For this
So you
one,
would
no.
have to-
we don't have.
No. let me check this user real quick, and I'll show you guys how to do this in a minute. But
Is it because the scope's on
he,
the top?
I'm thinking, no, I don't think he has the resight. Sidicaro?
Oh, no, he doesn't because he's audio.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
just go to Boyer
this is, I'm going to show everybody this, but this resight bar here should be in the posterior. That's why it's not. So if you guys want to come over here, I'll go over more of the back later, but when I'm sliding it forward, you're supposed to hear you can hear the binoculars invert, and it's not doing it. So what I'm checking is, this is the main menu here. If you come to user and you're selected on the current user, you hit this little wrench button here. This R should be on the posterior to use the resight. Otherwise, you can see there nothing was working. So I selected the R there. I saved it. Now when I slide this forward, you can hear it invert. So if that happens again, you know to check that setting in the back. So just wanted to mention that. I'll come back and show you more of the menu in a minute here, but I'll just go over some of the other basic stuff of the scope here. You have the handle grips here, so you actually have you got your sterilizable handles. So there's a couple of like buttons here, so those should line up with the buttons on the handle grips here, and turning it either clockwise or counterclockwise should release the brake, as well as this black bar here. So if you're not sterile and you need to move the microscope out of the way, this black bar will release the brake and you can move it. You notice that bringing the scope down should automatically turn the light on, and then when they're done with the case, you'll hear that beep that'll turn the light off and recenter everything. So they can either do that or hit this, and that'll recenter the XY2. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that, right? So either way, so this is just a lot easier because you just boom, everything's reset back to the original settings.
So if you bring it down and the light doesn't come on,
I would say do it again, or most settings should have the light on and off, like with this button here.
sorry.
Is that balloon? The bottom left button is usually, or bottom right, is usually like an on-off button. I'll show you how to check the settings in the back in case that's not working.
If the light burns out, we just switch the
Back up, I'll show you the
okay,
bulb here in a minute. I'm just kind of working my way back here. The assistant scope here, if you want to switch to the other side, there's a little button here. So you can just hit the button and then that will slide to the other side here.
Yeah, make
Let's
sure
take this
that
off.
one is up.
Yeah, if you don't have this, it's not going to be able to go to the other side. So flip that up and then make the adjustment here. So again, you press that little button and then that will slide over. You hear that click, so that it's stuck there. The assistant scope also has magnification and independent focus here. Went over the XY. Another button on here is like a manual version for the, this is our red reflex light, and then you have the field light. So you can manually adjust that here, but if it's retina, they're only going to be using that field light, so you're not going to really need to use that. Moving along here. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Switching the assistant scope.
Yeah.
There's not enough room to do it with the sterilized.
Grips on there. I would do it before. I mean, you can see it was like almost catching it there, so I would do it before. This knob is just a friction knob here for this motion, so if you want to tighten this up, this won't move, so just loosen it up. There's a couple orange knobs here that you're not going to want to use. If you tighten this up, it's going to lock the arm in place. And then there's an orange knob over here that will, if you tighten it up, it will prevent the scope from dropping at below that whatever level that you tightened it at. One more knob here I forgot about is the tilt right here. So if you want to put it back to regular, you got those little markers there, but you can just tilt this button here. I went over the brake here, so you can move it like that. This knob here is a balancing button, balancing knob. So if you're taking weight on and off the head of the microscope and it's out of balance, let's say the scope is like really heavy and it's dropping, you want to take weight off of the head of the microscope. So you're gonna twist it clockwise to move weight off. If it was flying up and you wanted to put weight on to balance it out, turn it counterclockwise. And then that way, you know, it should not move anywhere up or down when you're releasing the brake. The bulbs here are in the back. You have 2 xenon bulbs, 500 hours each bulb. We are on the backup right now, but if you needed to, this is actually, oh, this is already popped out. You should press that button and it'll pull out. If you wanted to adjust, just twist the knob here. So I'll keep it on the backup here. That was actually, I'm surprised that the light was turning on there because it was popped out a little bit. Usually if this happens, it's not in all the way and the light's not going to turn on. And you're going to get an error and the light's not going to turn on. Everybody's going to be like, what is happening? Right. So just make sure that if the light's not turning on, this is the first thing I would check. Like make sure that it's popped in. You got to really make sure it's in there. So be aware of that. The monitor should come on as soon as you turn the microscope on, so you don't need to turn the monitor on or anything like that. You're going to get some error messages if you pop the light bulb and switch it, so it just exit out of that. The foot pedal, real quick, you have it plugged in, which you could. I mean, I don't think you guys ever use the batteries, but you could use 3D batteries. I'm sorry, 3C batteries, and I can pair it to make it wireless. This is more of just a backup, but this is nice because wirelessly, if the surgeon's not using it, it'll go to sleep, and then they're gonna like press some buttons and it'll make noise and it won't do anything. But in this case, it's plugged in. It's green here. It's working. It's on. It won't go to sleep if it's plugged in, basically. So don't press this little yellow button. It's just gonna like basically turn off all the features. So make sure you're not hitting that. It's more of like an emergency button if like the power goes out. So don't press that button. You guys. Oh no, you don't have recording. This is just a USB plug-in, but you guys don't have the recording function on here, so nobody can pull off any data.
What's that little clock thing on the foot pedal?
That's just like a indicator for like your different users. So don't worry about that.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's see. Now just getting to the back here. There's a couple basic things. The main menu here, if you want to change user, you're going to press user here. You're going to press this button here under user. You have user, surgery, and language. Just hit the user button. And then who's coming in next? Dr. Hanscom. Select the surgeon that you want. Make sure to hit activate. And that will change the user. You can always check on the bottom right. And when you go back on the bottom left, make sure you know what surgeon you're on. Foot pedal is another thing that you're going to want to check, which is under additional settings, and then the foot control panel button here. And this will give you the foot pedals actions here. So light minus, light plus on the top, which is pretty standard. He's got invert here and here. I mean, there's a bunch of different, if you select it, there's a bunch of different things that you can adjust on here. So it's just, everybody has their different preference, but the focus and zoom, that's a standard. That should be the same for everybody. Light on and off. Inverts usually only for retina procedures. SCI position here is just, SCI is our stereo coaxial illumination or red reflex.
So both invert, they do the same thing right there. It's the same thing.
Yeah, so instead, that's like if they're using an AVI, they need that invert button because they're not using the resight. So they need to invert because the AVI lens, like the lens inverts the image, they got to invert back. So they need that button there. But with the resight, they don't really need that invert button because, like I mentioned, you slide it forward, it automatically inverts for them. So, and then, so actually, let me show you this. So right now we're on Hanscom anterior. So you have these foot pedal settings here, and this is gonna happen with the resight only. But as soon as I flip the resight forward, it's gonna go to Hanscom posterior. So now if I go to additional settings and the foot control panel, you can see it's a little bit different now because he can adjust the resight with his foot pedal now. So if you look on here, what was the focus plus is now resight focus plus and resight focus minus. So when he's doing his regular settings, it's actually moving the lens of the resight. It's a micro focus. And the regular focus is on now on the outside buttons here. So that's moving the gross focus. So that's just something to know because if somebody's settings is not like this, they're not going to be able to use the foot pedal.
Okay.
Or use the resight with the foot pedal rather. So let me just go back here. And then flip back, that's going to flip back to the anterior. Another adjustment, you have the light. You can also check the lamp hours. So you have 377 left on the main. I'm not sure why you're on the backup, but you have 418 hours left on that as well. If it gets down to 0, it'll give you like a little error message, but you have a lot of time left.
Do you know
so
why we're on the backup? No, I don't know.
I'll switch it to the main one, but under Omni Light you can adjust the light intensity, red reflex to field, illumination, the filter. Sometimes people like cataract surgeons like that yellow halogen light. That scope is a halogen. I'll show you as a halogen light, but this one has a filter for it because it's xenon. So that's pretty much it. There's a lot of other little adjustments you can make, but I won't go over that stuff now. But I just wanted to show you the basic like user change. Oh, let me just one more quick thing here. So I showed you the foot pedal settings. I mentioned that the handle grips here have buttons on them. These are programmable buttons. Most of the time, I like to keep it at no function because when they grab it and turn it to release the brake, if there's a function on there, it's going to do something weird to the light, or it's going to screw it up like that they weren't expecting. So if that happens, like I think Robert, and this has happened before, so I'm just going to show you this real quick. If I go back, additional settings, hand grip, and this is the left hand grip here, but no function. If I go to like, oh, why is there a black dot? Retina protection here, so, oh, why is there a black dot in my light? You've seen that before?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
So, for some reason, like that, the handle grips might be programmed to that user because Zeiss default users like have those programmed for some reason, and I try to change everything to no function because something like this is going to happen. They're going to be like, "What's going on?" They can't operate. So that's just something to look out for. So you could always come back here if that happens and go to no function, or at least check the left and the right handle grip and make sure that nothing's programmed there. So that's just something to look out for. that I've seen. So other than that, there's other speeds and light intensities and things like that that you can adjust on there that I don't want to show you guys at the
Can you adjust how fast you focus in and out, or?
Yeah, let's go to yeah, so zoom here, you can adjust, so if you go to additional settings, speeds, you got zoom, X, Y, and focus speed here. So you can adjust that. So if anybody's asking about that, you can adjust it here. But always make sure to hit the save button, otherwise it's not going to save.
Okay.
Mag, starting light intensity, that can all be adjusted back here.
Got it.
Other than that, I think that's it for this scope. Any questions?
No.
Okay. This one's a lot more basic. There's not much